thank you for letting me know. So that is what's happening here. All right, I will go back to talk about the other ones that I just talked about because I need to make sure you guys heard that. Okay, well, anyway, draw 3 cards, decent in green especially. Then the first land card in your hand can gain mana, gains full mana. All your creatures get +X+X. X is the number of cards in your hand. Like I was saying, right now, all creatures are getting the buff, not just yours. So I avoid using the card for that reason right now. But it has potential. I think it's kind of a worse Nissa's Expedition. The drawing 3 cards can be useful, but there's Will of the Temor you're going to want to use instead of this card most of the time. But if you don't have that, this card is okay. I think I'm going to put it in the situational category. I just don't think it's like... I don't think it's necessarily a void, but I don't think it's bringing a lot to the table. Okay, let's go back to this guy. Herbus Protector. When this creature enters the battlefield or attacks, create an angel token. When you make a white match by swap for the first time during your turn, create an angel token. So I've been playing around with this card a little bit, and I like it. I actually think it's a fun card because the angels can get pretty big. That can be relevant for certain other cards that you pair this creature with. So there is some fun little angel synergy that you can build around with this. Probably Archangel Elspeth is the best Planeswalker to use this with, but it's pretty fun. It surprised me at how quickly the angel tokens can grow. So pretty solid card. The only thing is it dies quickly to being blocked, so you gotta worry about that a little bit. But once it's been on the board for a little while, you have a pretty decent angel stack since they're 4/4. So building those up is actually not that difficult. And then we'll go back to this one. White of Precinct 6. When this creature enters the battlefield, destroy the top 6 cards of your opponent's library. Then this creature gets +X+X. X is half the number of cards in your opponent's graveyard, rounded up. When this creature deals combat damage, destroy the top 6 cards of your opponent's library. I was saying this is meta impacting because this is a card that people who love Veiana are going to want to use this card a lot. Must cheat out card at 18 for a weenie. I guess so. You could use, you could use something like Assemble the Players, for example. I believe Elspeth gives the creature it fetches 15 mana, right? So that's close to cheating it out. But anyways, I was saying this was going to be a good Veiana card because people are going to want to play this card just because of her. And that might make Veiana a more popular option for a while. So I do feel like this does have the potential to be meta impacting. So we're putting that there. All right, next one. Uncovered Clues. If you were on my stream yesterday, I believe it was, I was playing this card a lot, trying to figure it out. I haven't quite gotten there yet. Anyway, it's a 19-man spell card. Fetch up to the first 2 different spell cards from your library that are not uncovered clues. Create a copy of those cards in your hand. Then those cards gain half their mana. So what's happening with this card is it fetches 2 spells and then it creates the copies of the spells it fetched. I think I thought it was bugged because it was fetching 4 instead of 2, but it seems like it's fetching them and then creating copies of them. And they're all gaining half their mana, which is a really powerful effect. Okay, so yeah, it is 15 mana. Thanks, Roy. So it's a really powerful effect to get a bunch of spells in your hand. I don't necessarily think it's a great looping card. It can be. I'll have to play it in other decks that maybe our gem conversion loop decks. I think that's where this card will be really good. So this might be a better legacy impacting card because you're just going to be able to fetch a bunch of legacy gem conversion spells and put them in your hand and give them a bunch of mana. Probably an okay wizard class card, depending on what type of engine you're running. So fetching a spell won't give it mana in a wizard class deck. So it really depends on what else you're playing in that type of deck. But this card has a lot of potential. I think once people figure it out, I think it's possibly meta impacting. So I could be wrong about this, but we'll see. So I'm putting it legacy impacting for now. Okay, Silvan Primordial. So ×2 Whir of Inventions. Yeah, something like that. But in a Whir of Invention deck, you're usually running a bunch of different spells because you're only running one support and probably only 3 creatures. So it's not always going to fetch Whir of Invention, obviously, but you can fetch a bunch of stuff that'll help you get to those Whir of Inventions or your Omnis. So, yeah, it's an interesting idea, though. Okay, this is 18 mana, a 6/8 with reach. When this creature enters the battlefield or attacks, fetch the first land support from your library, then destroy a random opposing support. Okay, well, as long as it stays on board, it's going to be destroying support, so that can be annoying. It does have reach, but you can augment that reach, give it first strike, double strike, death touch, etc. So at the moment, I don't see this as being like hugely meta impacting, but I can see it being really annoying because of the opposing support destruction. So this can be kind of a dangerous card to face if you're not ready for it, but I don't think it's going to be hugely impactful. I think I'll put this in the situational bucket over here. Stalker Vengeance. When a creature dies, deal X damage to your opponent's planeswalker. X is that creature's power. That's interesting. It also has haste, but it is 21 mana. I think this card has potential to be pretty fun because I think it triggers when any creature dies. So you could do fun things, I think, with that. If you want to sack one of your own creatures with Gitrog or something, make that thing huge. Make a huge stack of tokens or whatever, and then sack it with Gitrog and do something to your opponent with this card here. So that would be something I want to mess around with before I decide how good it is. So I'm going to put it in the fun category for now. It's the collector's exclusive. I think you're right. So I guess I won't be able to play it until next set comes out, which at the rate they're coming out these days, that might be tomorrow. Scion of Vitu-Ghazi, creature elemental, 14 mana, 4/4. When this creature enters the battlefield, create 2 Griffin tokens. At the beginning of your turn, populate. I think the Griffin tokens are only like 2/2s. So at the beginning of your turn, populate. So that just it reinforces your largest token, I believe, or largest base power token. So yeah, I don't see this card being all that great. Like I think the angel creature, the angel creating cleric guy is better. So I think this is going to be my first avoid. I just think that there are better options, especially at this rarity. Sepulchral Primordial. Avatar, 18 mana, 5/4 with Menace. Okay. When this creature enters the battlefield, return the first creature with the greatest mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield under your control with its reinforcements. Okay. Then return the first creature with the greatest mana value from your opponent's graveyard to the battlefield under your control with its reinforcements. That's pretty good. It's kind of like a baby Breach the Multiverse without the destruction of the library. I could see this card being pretty fun. Will it be meta impacting? Maybe. I could see people really enjoying using this card and starting to see it pretty often. It's a high casting cost, but with the type of decks that you would build for this, I don't think you're going to be paying full mana for most creatures. So I'm going to put this in the fun category. I think it has potential to be meta impacting, but I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be the go-to option for a lot of people, but I think it is a cool card. Yeah, it does seem pretty fun. Proteian Hulk. I just pulled this card and I don't know what to do with it yet. 18 mana creature beast. When this creature dies or loses a reinforcement, fetch the first 4 creatures with the highest cost that are 15 or less from your library. Those cards gain half their mana. So I'm thinking knowledge is power to for the most fun way and least like detrimental to your board state way of doing this. So you just build up your reinforcements with knowledge is power, and then this just keeps fetching you a bunch of creatures. So this could be an interesting card for creature objectives. I don't know if it's going to be like a meta impacting creature necessarily, because I don't think it has a lot of raw power on its own. I think it's a fun little combo piece. So it's probably going to go in the situational bucket here. I think it's a cool card, but I don't think it's going to be used very widespread. Okay, this card is not working as intended. Phyto Hydra. When this creature is dealt damage, it gets +2/+2 instead. So theoretically, this should work like an undergrowth champion that loses -1. It debuffs -1 when it gets dealt damage, but when it blocks, it just nothing happens. It just dies like if it was not blocked. So I have to think that that was not the intent, because it's a 23 mana card. It should survive an attack, but it's not yet. Sark plus Akul. That's coming in via Grist a lot. At least that is what I assume. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, anything like with Grist can bring creatures into play pretty quickly. It's going to be a good card there. So it might be more meta impacting than I'm giving it credit for, but we'll see. I'm still predicting that it's going to be mainly a fun card and you're not going to see it everywhere. But yeah, this card, once it's fixed, I'm thinking that this will be meta impacting, because that's going to be so annoying to face a creature that just that can block and doesn't die unless you hit it with removal, which there's a lot of that around. So but I do think this card will be like similar to a Sab Sun, and you'll see a pretty decent amount. So yeah, I'm gonna put it there. I'm going to put it in meta impacting just because I think it actually works as written. It will be very annoying and you'll see it everywhere. Phytoplankton can be good. Tasty. Saruk plus Aqua, that's a good call. It's just that it can't fetch Saruk though, right? But Aqua is not a bad suggestion. I think how much does Aqua cost to cast? Is it like 14 or something like that? I haven't played Aqua in a while. I don't know why. It's always a terrifying card to face. 13. Okay, so yeah, that's great. That's a really good one to fetch with it. So that's a fun idea there. Morgue Burst. I just started using this card. I like it a lot. 12 mana spell card. Return the first creature with the greatest power from your graveyard, to the battlefield. Then you deal X damage to target creature. Planeswalker X is that creature's power. So I think this is like a better version of Pyretic Rebirth, right? Well, maybe not better because you can choose which card you grab with the Pyretic Rebirth. So this one doesn't give you the choice, but it gives you a stronger ETB effect, I would say. I like this card. Would I put it in the fun category or meta impacting? It's 12 mana spell, so it's pretty cheap too for what you get out of it. So I'm going to go so far to say it's going to be meta impacting. And meta impacting doesn't necessarily mean that it's like the best cards from the set or anything. I just think it's ones that you'll see more. Okay, Morgue Burst is single and Rebirth is all opposing creatures in half mana. Okay, so they're comparable power level. They're just functionally a little different. Molten Primordial. So, okay, so there's colors of all Primordials. When this creature enters the battlefield, if you control 2 or less creature cards, gain control of up to the first 2 opposing creatures until end of turn. Reinforce those creatures until end of turn. Then those creatures gain haste until end of turn. So this is like a upgraded version of all those steal your creatures for a turn cards. It is 19 mana, so that's a little expensive. But that this could be a sneaky surprise your Galta stack or Master of Keys stack. So this is a pretty good counter to some of those Grist decks that go nuts and only give you a turn to deal with them. So this could be kind of fun. I think I'm still going to put it in the situational category. I think it's a very intriguing defensive card, but I don't think that people are going to just be using it all the time. I don't know. Could be. Once I get it, I'll let you know how awesome it is. And that could be a very annoying card to face. Mind Leech Mask. This card is awesome. This card I think is definitely meta impacting and possibly God tier. I don't know. Let's see. Mind Leech Mask. 17 mana, blue and black. Horror with trample. 6/6. When this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, your opponent discards 1 card at random, then copy that card. He gains full mana. So this is basically the new version of Silent Blade Oni. It can really take a lot of cards out of your opponent's hand. I love putting Double Strike on this guy with things like Rediscover the Way. Even Fire Shrieker I started using again a little bit because of this card. But yeah, it's a super fun card. Really strong because you can... it's not as predictable as Silent Blade Oni. That's the only thing. You don't know which card you're going to be stealing, but the fact that you're just taking cards out of your opponent's hand and putting them into yours and giving them mana. It's very similar to Oko's third ability in that way. So this card is I've been having a blast with it lately. So it's a great for those hand hate decks, and it's just been yeah, really solid. I don't think I'll go so far as to call it God tier, but I do think it's going to be meta impacting. You're going to see this card a lot once more people get it, and you're going to hate it. Oko can use that. Yeah, so you're even supercharging your stealing abilities. Master of Cruelties. Here's another fun card. 20 mana. So it's a little expensive, but red can use it, which is really cool. So it's got Berserker, Death Touch, and First Strike. So it can take out a lot of stuff too. I have played with this card a little bit. When this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, your opponent loses X life. X is equal to half to your opponent's current life rounded down. So it works very similar to Unstoppable Slasher. The main difference is that this creature can take out a lot of opposing creatures as well. So you do have to get through all of your land-bound opposing creatures first before this card really does a lot of damage, or a lot of the main life loss. So it does have some differences, and depending on how you look at it, limitations compared to Slasher. But you could use both in mono black if you wanted to. So this card is definitely a lot of fun. I don't necessarily see it as hugely meta impacting yet. We'll see though. This is an ability that people really gravitate towards, so maybe it is meta impacting. I think I'm tempted to just say it's a fun card, but I do think that a lot of people really like to play that archetype. So I'm going to put it there in the meta impact. Sorry, one sec here. All right, sorry about that. Okay, we are at Luminate Primordial. Maybe too fast for objectives. Well, that's how I feel about Slasher as well. I don't really use those kind of cards a lot because a lot of times, it's making objectives a little too difficult to hit sometimes. But you see these kinds of cards in quick battle all the time, so I think that's where we'll probably see it. Okay, Luminate Primordial, 18 mana. It's got Vigilance, 4/7. When this creature enters the battlefield, destroy the opposing creature with the highest cost. When this creature is destroyed or exiled, exile a random non-token opposing support. Then gain X life. X is equal to that support shield. I like this card. I think it's pretty good. The destroy a creature ETB is always strong, and this one is untargeted, and it destroys with the highest cost. So very useful card. I have a feeling that it's going to be meta impacting just because cards with strong ETBs always are, and I think this one is. Even though it's 18 mana, there's going to be a lot of different ways to get it on the board. So Aminatu, for example, this comes into play easily with their third, and it's just going to be destroying your opponent's side of the board when you do things like that. So I think I'm going to put this meta impacting as well. So far we actually got a good amount of meta impacting cards already. Okay, next one. Lazordim Mastermind. Hexproof, blue and black, shapeshifter, 14 mana. When an opposing creature dies, you may create a copy of that card in your hand. That card gains half its mana rounded down. Okay. That's an interesting way of stealing creatures from your opponent. I can see this as being a fun card. I think the Mind Leech Mask, the effect overall is better, even if it's a little less predictable. But that one's a solid card, so I'm going to put it in the fun category. Speaking of fun, Karlov of the Ghost Council. I just started playing this card in the new event here. Spirit Advisor, 11 mana. It's got level, is legendary, it's 2/2. Spirit Advisor. When you gain life, this creature gets +1/+1, then increase this card's level by 1. If this card's level is 6 or more, exile a random opposing creature, then this card's level becomes 1. So all you need to do is just put this into a deck that you that makes you gain life continuously. Healer of the Pride, Life Insurance, cards like cards like that. Ajani makes a lot of ways to gain life there. Double Strike, Life Linkers was the way I was using with this. So pretty much every time you hit level 6, you can exile the creature, and that happens multiple times a turn if you trigger life gain enough times. So yeah, it's a pretty funny and interesting way of deleting your opponent's side of the board, at least their creature. So this card was a lot of fun, even with questionable life gain deck. Got this guy easily in the 30s. Yeah. So yeah, as long as you're able to keep this guy on the board, it grows pretty fast. So definitely a fun card. I don't know if it's strong enough to be meta impacting, like you're going to see it everywhere, but firmly in the fun camp. Okay, Hands of Binding. Support card, 22 mana. It's not an enchantment or artifact, which is kind of interesting. You think it would be. So it's only 2 shields. When this support enters the board, opposing creatures gain stun counter 1. When your first creature attacks, the first opposing creature gains stun counter 1. When your first creature dies, destroy the support. So pretty strong effects. Stun countering your opponent's side of the board. And then stun countering basically locking out your opponent's first creature as long as you have creatures on the board. So it's got a lot of utility, but there's a lot of drawbacks to it. First of all, it's 22 mana. It's got no subtype, so it's a little hard to cheat out. It's only got 2 shields, and it can also be destroyed when your first creature dies. So a lot of things keeping it from being, I guess, OP. So for all those reasons, I think I have to put it in the situational category. I think it's solid. I just don't think it's great. Baseball bat from DSK is better. In a way, yeah, exactly. I think baseball bat is one of the most underrated cards in Standard. Even I don't use it enough, but when I see it, I'm like, damn it, why don't I ever use that card? Giant Adifage, 22 mana to cast. It's got trample on 7/7. Creature insect. When this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, reinforce this creature. Again, another one to throw on with double strike. This thing gets big fast, especially if you throw it on the board quickly. Pairing it with things like Chroma's Memorial, making it a big blocker. If you get double strike on it with like Tristani, for example, the thing gets big fast. So It is firmly in the fun category for me. It's a little too expensive to be meta impacting in my opinion, but I do think it is a good card. Put that there. Five Alarm Fire. Another fun one. 16 mana. I think I just got this card. It's got level, 2 shields, support card enchantment. When a creature you control attacks, increase this card's level by 1, then deal X damage to any opposing target. X is equal to the support's level. So this is similar to, it's almost like the creature damage version of, what's that? Not Inevitable Defeat, that's a spell. The red, Roy, you'll know this, the red spell support that increases its level every time you cast a spell, and it deals damage equal to its support shield. But this is kind of like the creature version of it, though it doesn't increase its shields. Good for all the goblins. Yeah. This, I think if you do double strike on all these guys, it increases the... oh, wait, no, it's just when they attack. So it only increases by 3 at max every turn. But, you know, that's not bad. I think this is in the fun category. All Will Be One is also a very... That's probably a better comparison to what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of... it's from way back in the Hour of Devastation days. So I think this is probably situational. I don't know if it's powerful enough to be super fun, but I think that you can probably have a little bit of fun with it. So that's where I'm putting it. In the situational category. Denrova Horror. When this creature enters the battlefield, return target opposing creature to their owner's hand. Then your opponent discards a card at random. Okay. So that's similar to Ashiok 1's second ability. Except that one, I think, only discards 2. Or that one discards 2, and this only 1. When this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's player, your opponent discards the last card without mana from their hand. That's all right. I think this is a good card to pair with other discard strategies. So, like, for example, pairing this with Liliana Vest Vanguard, Mind Leech Mask, maybe. And then this card. That's some real hand hate. That's going to be super annoying. I don't think this card is super powerful on its own. It's pretty strong. I mean, I think it's pretty good. I think this card is kind of more of a piece in a different overall strategy. So I'm going to put it situational because you're probably not going to put it in every deck, but the ones that you do put it into, it's probably going to be pretty useful there. Dusk, Mantle, Seer. Vampire Wizard, 14 mana, lifelink, and flying 4/4. At the beginning of your turn, draw a card, then each player gains or loses X life. X is half that card's mana value up to 10. Oh, is it doing that thing again where it's not showing my not showing the chat in the thing? Hold on, let me see if I could figure out what's going on there. Give me 1 sec here. I think it's because I have, yeah, it's because I have my, I have a different browser open to be able to look at my, my tier list here. So unfortunately, I guess I'll just have to do this without the chat window up there, but I'll do my best to read what you guys are saying here. So for example, Roy, you just said that's a good amount. There's a good amount of discard at the moment for standard. So many sets. Yeah, there is. Anyhow, at the beginning of your turn, draw a card. Then each player loses X life. X is half that card's mana value up to 10. I feel like that really sucks. To me, for me personally, I just don't like losing life just for drawing a card. So I don't know. I don't see it with this card. So I'm going to put it in avoid. Maybe there's something that you can do with it. Oops. But I mean, that's so far from being a meta impacting effect. So I'm putting it in the avoid. Diluvian Primordial. When this creature enters the battlefield, exile the first spell card from your graveyard, then create a copy of that card in your hand. That card gains full mana. When this creature attacks, exile the first spell card from your opponent's graveyard, then create a copy of the card in your hand. That card gains half its mana rounded down. Maybe in Lolth or Ash 3. Yeah, maybe. Maybe Ash 3, yeah, because it benefits from life loss. So that's something there. Okay. There's some utility here. I think you do have to build around it a little bit with a little bit of graveyard destruction. But if you pair this with like Glacierwood Siege, for example, you're going to be filling up either graveyard pretty quickly. So this is probably in the fun category. Maybe situational because of how much you have to kind of build for it. But maybe you don't. Maybe there's like an easy way of building for this and making it pretty useful. I'm going to put this in the fun category. I'm thinking in my mind there might be a couple of synergies that I can play around with when it comes to this card. So I believe this one's also an exclusive. So that means I might be able to get it to you before the rest of you are able to. And I'll let you know. Just be on Discord so I can say these things and you can read what I'm talking about. Debt to the Deathless. It is a white and black spell card, 25 mana. Your opponent loses X life and you gain X life. X is the amount of black and white gems on the board. For 25 mana for such an unpredictable effect, I mean, most of the times this is probably going to be like a 20-20. Like you gain 20 life and your opponent loses 20 life, which is okay, but you want to spend 25 mana to get there. And even if you cheat it out with like Mystical Teachings, there are far better cards that you would want to pull with that. So it's going to be a really situational card at best. And I really think it's just in a card to avoid chasing. I'm not really seeing it there. Okay, Deathright Shaman. Elf Shaman, 1/2 for 14 mana. At the beginning of your turn, convert 4 gems to the most present color on the board. That's alright. At the beginning of combat of your turn, exile the first card from your graveyard, then you gain 5 life. Okay. At the end of your turn, exile the first card from your opponent's graveyard, then your opponent loses 5 life. Yeah, I mean, pretty weak abilities overall. Even the converting 4 gems, you might not necessarily convert to the gems that you want to. So, I don't know. I think it's a fairly weak card overall. So, I'm going to put it into the avoid pile. And I do think this card is the one that comes in the collector box, which is just kind of ridiculous if you ask me. You would think that you would get something really cool, like something in the meta impacting cards, but I don't know. The decisions they make sometimes just, you know what I'm talking about. Cloudstone Curio, support card artifact, 22 mana. That's a lot. When another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, reinforce target creature you control. Okay? When a non-token enchantment support enters the battlefield under your control, a random non-token support you control gains 1 shield. I don't know. Is reinforcing a creature you control that valuable of an ability that you want to spend 22 mana to play a card like this? Gaining 1 shield too is just kind of alright. For me personally, I just don't see the cost to benefit ratio on this one. It's like maybe you can cheat it out because it's an artifact and you can put it into play with like Redress Fate. But really, it's taking up deck real estate that, yeah, this is probably, I think this is going to be like a master and forget it one for me personally. I don't think it's that great. No, because reinforced does not trigger ETB. Yeah, that's a good point there. That like you're just reinforcing a creature. You're not like putting it into play. Like Portal to Phyrexia is such a better artifact at a comparable price. So that's pretty much how I feel about that card. So we went through all the mythics, and now we got 15 masterpieces to go through here. So we'll try and knock these out fairly quickly. Let's see. Voice of Resurgence, 17 mana creature, elemental. It's a 2/2, white and green. When your opponent casts a spell, create a Herd of Elephants token. When this creature dies, create a Herd of Elephants token. I actually have no idea what the Herd of Elephants tokens are. Unless they're pretty big, I don't see this being very meta impacting at all. Maybe it's a fun category. I think this is kind of to be determined because I don't know what the Herd of Elephants are. So I think I'm just going to have to put this to the side and put it in the who knows category. Unless one of you know what the Herd of Elephants are, you can look it up for me real quick and then I can assess it from there. Undercity Plague, support card, 14 mana, black. It's just a support card, not an enchantment. When this support enters the board, your opponent loses 6 life, then destroy a random opposing card. Okay. When your first creature attacks, your opponent loses 6 life, then destroy a random opposing card. Dang. When your first creature dies, destroy this support. Okay. Pretty strong. Gosh, that's going to be super annoying. So, you put this into play and poof goes one of your opponent's spells, or not spells, one of your opponent's cards, exact opposite of spells. And then if they have a creature on board, yeah, this is pretty strong. It's going to be pretty annoying. It's like, gosh, I'm trying to think of like one of those supports that just destroy things. But this is actually probably better than a lot of them because you can destroy random opposing cards. Although, you know, if they're playing a bunch of tokens, it's not going to be as impactful, but it's got a lot of strong effects to it. Will it be meta impacting? Maybe. It's a masterpiece, and you will usually want something that's a little bit more predictable. But this is a good card to just play and then see what happens when your opponent on your opponent's turn. So, gosh, it's not great anti-Rakdos, and that's where you kind of want to have some. And so, it's a similar Rakdos-ish kind of card, but there's a lot of conditions that it needs to. For it to trigger. So, Herd of Elephant. Okay, thank you, Mid-Carter. Herd of Elephant. 1/1 gets +X for each creature and reinforcement. Is that on enter the battlefield, or when does that trigger? Maybe you could tell me. Plague is dope. Yeah, it's a cool card. I think it's probably going to be meta impacting, just depending on how many people play it, but I don't know if I'm going to use it that much, to be honest. Maybe I will. Maybe in like mono black or something. But It's not really my style of card, but you know, Veiana is not my style of Planeswalker, and yet a ton of people use her. So my word is definitely not the be all end all here. That's nasty with Aminatu. Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of ETB there. But yeah, you just gotta figure out ways to get it into your exile first. But yeah, pretty solid. I think it is probably meta impacting. I think it's pretty okay. Only beginning of your turn, but only lasts until next turn. Okay, so all right, let's look back at this card. When your opponent casts a spell, create a herd of Elvance, create a herd of Elvance. Yeah, it's too dependent on what your opponent is doing. Like, if your opponent is casting a bunch of spells, you think a herd of elephants is going to save you from that? No. I mean, for all you know, all those spells, there's going to be some kill spells in there. They play a Chaos Warp, and there goes everything that you think you were doing. So, yeah, no, this is an avoid for me. I don't think it's great. You have to pair it with other token generators as well. So it's just too many hoops to go through to get like an okay effect. Doesn't seem that great, yeah. I agree. Tidespout Tyrant, creature Jin, flying with 6/6 body, 21 mana though. When you cast a spell card, return a random opposing creature or support to their owner's hand. This effect can trigger up to 2 times per turn. Okay, that's a pretty strong effect. A bit expensive, but that effect is strong. So, but I wonder if your opponent's hand is full, will this still trigger, or does it stop triggering once they have a full hand? Depending on which effect here, though, I don't know. I can see this being a really useful card in certain situations. It's not going to be for everybody, but I think the people who spell slingers, I think this is like a Gauze type of card. So Gauze is all about having fun. So we'll put this in the fun category for him. We had a rare Kraken better than this MP. Yeah, right? Yeah, the Hole Buster, something like that, I think it was called. That thing was very scary to face. All right, Sinister Possession, 14 mana, support card, enchantment aura for you Daxos fans. It's got level. When the first opposing creature attacks, your opponent loses X life. X is this card's level +1, then increases card's level by 3. Okay. It's a bit slow to get going, and do you really want opposing creatures doing nasty things to you? I feel like the life loss is not gonna keep up with opposing creature attacks. So unless you're playing like a really weak opponent, so I don't know. This card is definitely not holding up in the meta. So not a great card, I don't think, in most cases. So it's not even situational for me. I think it's an avoid. It's just not impactful enough. Okay, next we got Rurikthar, the Unbowed. 20 mana. Ogre Warrior, 6/6. It's got Vigilance and Reach, so if it can block, it will. Without dying, I mean. When a player casts a support or spell card, deal 15 damage to that player's planeswalker. Okay, this is a little puzzle here. How do we maximize our benefit and theirs? So if you play, it's going to be really situational. You have to know what type of deck you're going against. And it is a creature that can die to removal. So Is it worth building around? That's the real question here. Nice to see them keep the theme of the actual card in this one. Oh, yeah? Yeah, I don't know about this one. I'm tempted to put it in the fun category, but it's also going to be very situational. You're going to have to really build for it. That building for it might be a lot of fun, but I think it's probably a little bit more in the situational category for most people. I don't know if a lot of people are going to want to jump through the hoops that it would take to make this a really strong card. I mean, I personally am going to try and build something for it once I get it, because, you know, it just seems like the deck building type of puzzle I'm into. So I think for most people, they're probably not going to want to play it that much. I don't know. We'll see. It's possible I'm wrong about that. All right. A new Ratos. 16 mana masterpiece. Red and black, as always. It's a demon creature. When your opponent loses life or is dealt damage for the first time during each turn, reduce the cost of all cards in your hand by X until the end of your next turn. X is equal to the amount of damage dealt or life lost. All right, so that is a pretty awesome card. Trying to figure out what's the best way of building for it. I mean, you just throw this in a Galta Grist deck and make a huge Galta Stompy Stomp and reduce your cards in your hand that much. This card is nuts. Gosh, is this a God tier card? It might be. Definitely Chase, for sure. Gosh, this might be really, really insanely good. So, I'm going to predict it's going to be a God tier. Our first God tier card from this set. I think this is the first one I'm like really excited to be like, oh, I definitely want to try that card. Dakon L1 spam. Yeah. That's yeah, exactly. You get to make them lose life right off the bat and reap the benefits before even having to wait until your next turn. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Judge's Familiar, 12 mana bird, 1/1 with flying. When your opponent casts a spell, if a card in your opponent's hand has mana, drain all mana from your opponent's hand, then destroy this creature, otherwise destroy that card. That's weird. It's kind of a weird trying to figure out exactly how it works here. So if your opponent doesn't have mana, is the spell destroyed? So it's like an Insidious Will, but for spells only. That's what it seems like to me. And then if they have mana in your hand or in their hand, then this creature is destroyed. I don't know. It's a weird card. I don't completely understand it. Oh, did you, Roy? Roy just pulled it. How does it work? I'm not 100% sure. Okay, you haven't play tested either. So this is one. If it works how I believe it works, which is how I explained it there, I think it's kind of a situational card. Because it is a creature, and even though it can be possibly a solid effect, it's a little bit unreliable, and there's a lot of conditions that come with stopping an effect like that. So I don't think it's great, but I could be wrong about that. Is it Charm? Spell card, 12 mana, blue and red. So this is the blue and red charm for that block. Deal 8 damage to each opposing creature and to your opponent's planeswalker. I was thinking Necrogem Communion for that one. Okay, that's a solid idea. Lion Umbra, if you have that could be good. It's interesting that it's a white card too, because you're not going to expect a card like that come after you in white. So there's some utility there. It's definitely not an effect you see in white very often. Okay, deal 8 damage to each opposing creature and to your opponent's planeswalker. Okay, so it's similar to Boros Charm in that way. Your creatures gain hexproof and first strike until the beginning of your next turn. That's alright. The hexproof can be relevant sometimes. Discard 3 cards and draw 3 cards, then gain 6 mana. Interesting. So I think depending on where you play this card is going to be the most impactful. I remember Gauze saying that it looked like an interesting card to pair with a Satoru loop, Satoru and Thopter Fabricator, because you're going to make room in your hand for 3 cards. So that basically turns into 12 mana extra for you. And then you gain the 6 mana. So that's a really clever way of using it. I think this is really situational. When it comes to cards that fit into like one really specific deck archetype and not elsewhere, that's when I think that's what I deem them situational. Okay, we got 7 cards left. We got Demon Fire. I played this card a little bit. 15 mana, level 1. Or it's got level. At the beginning of your turn, if this card is in your hand, increases cards level by 1. Alignment red. This card is in your hand, increases cards level by 2. Deal X damage to your opponent's planeswalker, and to each creature they control, X is equal to this card's level. I like that it only targets your opponent. A lot of times these cards attack every creature. For the most part, I've gotten the levels up to like 5, 7. I think the most I've ever gotten into is like 13. And that's when I just kept it muted in my hand and just played like usual. I think it's a decent card. I don't think it's amazing. I do like that it damages your opponent as well, so it's good to play in certain types of decks. I just think that it's not great in like a spell looping type of deck because you're just not going to move the level up too much. And then if you're not playing it, if you're playing it in just like, you know, a mono red spellburn deck, that's probably where you're going to see it the most. So I think this is a situational card. I think it does have some utility in those types of red burn decks. Those decks just aren't that popular, and they really haven't been for a really long time. So unless somebody figures out something really cool to do with that one, I'm just going to leave it there. Okay, Blind Obedience. I remember this one being interesting. 18 mana enchantment with 3 shields, black and white. When you make a white or black match by swap, your opponent loses 5 life and you gain 5 life. That's actually not bad. When your opponent casts a creature support card, that card is disabled until the beginning of your next turn. Okay, now we're talking. This effect can trigger up to 2 times per turn. Okay. No, that's good. That's definitely meta impacting. That it's basically a almost the return of Authority of the Consuls there. And it's an enchantment, so you can pull it out in various other ways. Yeah, it is nasty, Roy. Yeah, this is definitely meta impacting. Is it God tier? It could be. I feel like you're going to see this everywhere once people get it. This is definitely a chase card, however you look at it. When your opponent casts a creature, I mean, that's usually enough. Like, because usually if you're playing like a Gris Galta deck, if this stops their ETB, then they're not going to really be able to play a lot of other cards because they're using it as the engine to fuel the rest of their deck. So at the very least, this is meta impacting, but I think I might just put this up in the God tier because that effect is super relevant in the meta. So that stops a lot of things from doing damage to you, not just like in the literal sense, like doing things against you with their decks if they stop that. from happening. So no Aegis for a turn, no Galta for a turn, not even a Rakdos for a turn. That's really powerful. Opponent, prior creature, then support, then spell. So yeah. Is that in reference to this card? Let me just look at that again. Sorry. Oh, and your opponent casts a creature or support card. Card is disabled. Yeah. Nice. Next card. Assemble a Legion. Support card enchantment. Red and white for shields. 15 mana. It's also got level. Yeah, this card was really fun to pair with the Angel Creator. At the beginning of your card, increase the card's level by 1, then reinforce each token creature you control X times. X is equal to this card's level. So, yeah, pretty much every time you reinforce, or yeah, pretty much every time you create, no, you don't even have to create it. You just have to have that token creature on the board. So I was able to get my Angels pretty large when I was pairing it with the Angel Maker earlier. So I think this card is very fun. It is situational in the fact that you need to play it with tokens, but I think it makes tokens strong enough, especially depending on which type of tokens you use. I think it's it can really help your token strategy. So I think a lot of people will like this one. So I'm putting in the fun category. I think it's a very fun card based on the battles I've tried with it. Populate should help this card as well. Yeah, exactly. I was thinking also pairing it with like Metastatic Evangel and things like that. I gotta look to see what are the biggest tokens in Standard right now. Biomass Mutation, 16 mana, spell card. Your creature's base power and toughness become XX until the beginning of your next turn. X is the number of different basic evergreen abilities among the creatures you control. Okay, so this is a natural pairing with Omo because she just gets all the abilities pretty quickly. So then you can pair this with other tokens, maybe? I don't know. It's kind of a funky card. I think it can be. It looks like it could be fun, but it looks like you really want to pair it with certain cards. You can pair this with a Chroma's Memorial, actually. That's not a bad pairing with it either. It's the devil emoji for Omo. Omo's so badass. She doesn't look like a lot just from reading it, maybe, to a lot of people. I had people in my coalition are just like, help me understand why this is a cool card. I was like, well, have you played it? And then, yeah, I was able to enlighten them a bit. But yeah, this seems like a fun card to pair with certain creatures and other effects and all that. So, oh, I believed you, man. I just seen it too often to not understand that, but maybe they just hadn't seen it. But yeah, this could be fun. I think it's going to be very situational depending on the type of decks you're playing. But for those decks, I think this is a fun card. But I do think that it should probably just be in the situational thing, just because of it's a very narrow thing that it boosts upon, or it bases its boosts upon. So not a lot of people will probably play it that often. But that is it for Mythics and Masterpieces. If I have time, I'll go through the rares tomorrow. But yeah, this was fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed me breaking these cards down. Sorry about the chat not showing up there. I guess it's just a consequence of me doing it this way. I don't really know a better way of going about it, unfortunately. Maybe if I had a second monitor, I could set it up that way, but I don't on this laptop. So, anyway, that is just grumblings about tech, but appreciate you guys being here. I'll post this on the Discords and all that, and looking forward to hearing what other people think of this breakdown. So, thanks, Roy. Yeah, I really enjoy doing these videos too. These are one of my favorite ones to do, just breaking down things and putting them in lists and such. And I think people like them as well. So, yeah, I'll try and do more of these. I just want more ideas of what else I should break down. And I could do that. But anyhow, see you.